What's going on, agents? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and as always, I hope everyone is doing well out there and staying safe. The PTS for Title Update 10, and for those of you who don't know what that means, PTS stands for Public Test Server, went live this morning for the Division 2 on PC only. I'm terribly sorry, console players. In conjunction with that server going live, Massive released an overwhelming amount of proposed changes with their Phase 1 patch notes, which I will try to quickly review for you. And just to reiterate, these are not set in stone, but will be tested over several phases on the PTS. But before we begin, if you like this kind of dedicated Division content, please smash that sub button and don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive all notifications for my YouTube channel. All right, let's begin. As I scroll through the proposed changes for PTS Phase 1, you can see that the changes are just monumental. I'm going to try my best to get through these as quickly as possible, and thank you to Johan for posting these. So let's just quickly start into these. For the first PTS phase, we'd like your feedback on these topics in particular. Weapon balance. Yeah, it needs some serious balancing. Exotics and sidearms balancing is still being worked on, and changes will be in Phase 2. So they will be handling exotics and sidearms. Sidearms and SMGs were my two items that I thought really needed to be addressed in that series of Reddit videos I did last week. Gear set balance, absolutely, because it can't compete with an all-red build. PvP weapon balance and TT-kill, this is a big issue. Difficulty and player power, and loot and rewards. Okay, if you have thoughts, okay. The following content will be disabled during the TU10 PTS and is not accessible to participants. The Raid 2, which is Operation Iron Horse, that's good because everyone deserves to try and play that together, and all of Season 2, which I'm not real big on the seasons anyway. Anyway, new exotics. They have 4 of them. 2 of them we're going to be able to find in the open world. 2 are going to be raid specific, which will be Operation Iron Horse. First off, an SRS, that is that bullpup sniper rifle called the Mantis. Your scoped view displays additional information about enemies not targeting you, I guess maybe weak points. Headshot and weak point damage against enemies not targeting you is amplified by 50%. Remember, amplified damage is multiplicative damage, so 50% amp damage, that could be interesting. Headshot kills reset the cooldown of the decoy skill. This bonus will wait until the decoy goes on cooldown if currently active. So this might be interesting to try out, see if I can source one during the PTS and maybe stream some footage or something like that. The mask called the Vial. Status effects also apply a damage over time debuff for 10 seconds. Now, I'm big on status effects, and for those of you who don't know, CC builds are big on legendary mode, so this might be interesting to try out. Total damage dealt is equal to 50% of your concussion grenade damage and increased by your status effects attributes. Okay, so if you're really spec'd into status effects, that'll stack on, or I guess affect the Vial total damage dealt. Interesting. These two down here, the Ravenous and the Regulus, are both behind the what they're labeling as Operation Iron Horse. On trigger pull, fire both barrels at once. Okay, we had this perk, I believe, on one of the exotics in the Division 1. I forgot which one it was. Maybe you can leave it in the description below. But anyway, pull the trigger once, get both barrels to fire. When fired from the right shoulder, hits add offensive primers and defensive primers when fired from the left shoulder. So it's going to alternate you going from left to right, and it's going to add primers, kind of like the Merciless, it sounds like. Hits from one shoulder will detonate all of the opposite shoulder's primers when present. So there you go. It's kind of like it's the Merciless for shotguns. When detonated, each offensive primer deals 100% weapon damage, while each defensive primer grants +4 bonus armor and +10 amplified damage for armor plates. 2 armor plates for 5 seconds, Primer effectiveness is doubled at 10 stacks, so you're going to have to be comfortable popping from left to right, but this could be interesting. I'm not real big on shotguns. Shotguns just lack quite a bit for me. But anyway, Magnum Revolver, the Regulus. Headshot kills grant a 5-meter explosion, dealing 400% weapon damage and applying bleed to all enemies hit. High base damage. So the developer comment down here, the Ravenous and Regulus are exclusive to the upcoming Operation Iron Horse, but are present on the TU10 PTS for balancing and feedback purposes. These would be interesting to try and get some footage on as well. All right, so we have 3 new gear sets. Eclipse Protocol. This is, as you can see, skill tier yellow. So this is going to be a skill build. 2-piece, 15% status effects, 3-piece, 15% skill haste, and 30% hazard protection. From what I hear, hazard protection is going to be very key to the next raid, so you might want to be sourcing gear that has a lot of hazard protection. The 4-piece, indirect transmission. Enemies that die while affected by your status effects, spread those status effects to other enemies within 15 meters and refresh 50% the duration. So this is kind of like creeping death, but in a gear talent. Interesting. And it gives you 15 refresh 50% the duration. Chest talent, proliferation, increases indirect transmission, which is up here, range from 15 meters to 20 meters, and refresh percentage from 50% to 75%. Backpack talent, symptom aggravator, amplifies all damage you deal to status affected targets by 15%. This is interesting because I love status effect build. I am definitely going to try and source this on the PTS. So Eclipse Protocol, I'm going to add that to my list. Foundry Bulwark, you can see over here, core attributes blue, so this is going to be a tank build. 2-piece, 10% armor, 3-piece, 3% armor regen, 4-piece, makeshift repairs whenever you or your shield take damage. 40% of that amount is repaired to both over 10 seconds. Okay. Chest talent, process refinery, increases makeshift repairs from 40 to 60%. Backpack talent, improved materials, increases makeshift repair speed from 10 to 6 seconds. So this is all about just being able to tank it and repair it. So for those of you running around with TP shield builds, this is kind of like your new, I guess, gear set, even though TP is probably still pretty strong. Future Initiative, another skill build. You can see over here, skill tier yellows. 15% repair skills, 15% skill duration, and 15% skill haste. And the 4-piece ground control increases you and your allies' total weapon and skill damage by 15% when at full armor. When you repair an ally, you and all allies within 5 meters of you are also repaired for 60% of that amount. Okay. Chest talent. Tactical superiority, increases ground control damage bonus from 15 to 25%, so you pick up 10%. Backpack talent, advanced combat tactics, increased ground control proximity repair from 60% to 120%. Okay, the only key here is that you need to be within 5 meters of I guess when you repair an ally, you and all your allies within 5 meters of you. So it's kind of like companion, I guess, companion, but on a skill build. This is going to be a healer build, so a Future Initiative is a skill healer build. Looks interesting. New brand sets, Walker, Harris & Company. Texas Walker, Ranger. Anyway, red damage core attributes is going to be a damage. Obviously, 5% weapon damage, 5% damage to armor, 5% damage to health. Okay. So that does not say anything about amp damage. That's going to be like all weapon damage. Damage to armor is always big. That's a cool one. So I'm going to do 5% more damage to armor, which shotguns already have as their native baked-in talent, and then plus 5% damage to health. Damage to health is kind of hard to find. It's only on assault rifles or like the Hollow Man mask. Excuse me. So there you go. New talents, weapon talent, Future Perfect. All right, weapon kills grant plus 1%, plus 1 skill tier for 15 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Oh, okay, so you can pick up 3 skill tiers, and if you can kill 3 targets within, I guess, 15 seconds. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge for 15 seconds. This is one of the issues that we had leading up to this, is getting to overcharge was basically you had to use the Acosta Go bag. I think there was one other gear talent, I forget the name of it, but it was really hard to make it up to overcharge, or you could destroy the hive with the BTSU gloves, but there's another way now we can get there with this new Future Perfect. Overcharge cooldowns 90 seconds. Weapon talent in sync, hitting an enemy grants plus 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. These are always hard to get to work because usually by the time you start firing, you've got enemies just peppering at you, and it's hard to get anything going because you're trying to not just get your head taken off. But anyway, using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants plus 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Again, we'll have to see how that works. Damage increased are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. Okay. Backpack talent, Adrenaline Rush. When you are within 10 meters of an enemy, gain 20% bonus armor for 5 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Okay, so if I run into a mob of enemies, in theory, and I'm within 10 meters of 3 enemies, it stacks up to 3 times. I should pick up 60% bonus armor, cooldown 5 seconds. So it comes back quick. Okay. Chest talent, Headhunter. After killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals 125% of that killing blow's damage. In addition to it, this damage is capped to 1500% of your weapon damage. Holy hell. You sniper animals out there are going to love this one. Gameplay changes, missions, reduced how many elites will spawn in the following missions. God, that's a lot of missions. So it's pretty much all the Warlords missions, Federal, Space Admin, Camp, White Oak, Coney Island, Manning National Zoo. So less elites? Okay. I really didn't have a problem with that. Loot, I did have a big problem with this. Anyway, General added all new Season 2 weapons and gear to general loot pools. That's good. Targeted loot. Increased targeted loot drop chances for all missions and control point difficulties. That's great. Added new Season 2 brand to targeted loot rotation and New York. Oh, yeah, that's great. Named items. Increased named item drop chance and regular Dark Zone loot. Okay. Increased named item drop chance and targeted loot everywhere. I like that too. Exotics. Added Warlords of New York Season 1 exotics, including the Bighorn, to targeted loot. Oh, excluding the Bighorn. I was about to say, what? Yeah. Bighorn's exclusive to the legendaries. Added Warlords of New York Season 1 exotics, excluding the Bighorn. Got it right this time. The general exotic loot pools, heroic, legendary, raid, exotic. Okay, so basically what has happened is, remember, in order to get to the exotics for Warlords of New York, you had to get them in their mission specifics, like Bullet King you got from Dragoff at the end of Wall Street, and that was really the only place you could get it. Once you got it, it kind of unlocked, and it would be a little bit easier. But what they're saying is here, they've added them into the general exotic loot pool for heroics, legendaries, raids, and exotic caches. Coyote's max drops from Coyote no longer has a minimum season level requirement. That's good. Control points removed regular weapon and gear loot containers, not scaling with difficulty from control points. Hell yes. How many times have you taken a level 4 CP on heroic global settings? You go and open up some of the weapons and gear crates, and it's purple gear. So I got to the point where I didn't even open those. Increase the amount of scaling loot from the big control point reward container. So that's the big yellow crate. So we're going to get more scaling loot from that. That's perfect. Legendary increased NPC loot drop chance for veterans and elites on legendary difficulty. That's good. I don't see anything about purples, though. I'd like to see something about purples not dropping on legendaries ever. Thank you. Nikki, if you're watching this, please remove purples from legendaries. Vendors added named items to both open world and dark zone vendors. Oh, okay. Increased prices for named items. I agree with that. That's fine. Increased item quality for all vendors. Yes. Vendors no longer sell superior quality items at max level. Perfect. So superior are purples. So they're no longer selling purples once you're at max level. Thank God. Now if we get purples out of like heroics and legendaries, that would also be great. Shade levels. Added field proficiency cache to shade level up after reaching the maximum season level. Okay. Increased crafting material rewards for spending shade level points in the scavenging category. Okay. Conflict added season shade experience gain on conflict level up. Okay. Rogue agent encounters. Every rogue agent killed will now drop loot. Thank you. Rogue agent encounters no longer occur during time trials. Thank you. Control point officers. Players revived by a control point officer will now have 80% of their armor restored. Whoa. Look at that. But I mean, that's not like on top of what you got, because remember, usually when the control point officer would bring you back to life, you had like basically no armor anyway, and you were just a sitting duck, and then of course all of the NPCs would focus fire and you were dead again. So they're going to give you 80% of your armor restored. Reduced the likelihood of control point officers being downed in combat. I really didn't have a problem with that. I kind of like that mechanic. Anyway, bounties. Bounties acquired by speaking to characters in the open world will always be set to the difficulty at time of acquisition or higher. I like that. This affects the snitch and civilians rescued during the public execution or rescue living world activities. Okay, so if you're on heroic difficulty and you complete, let's say, like a public execution or something like that, and you get the bounty from them, many times it would be like hard or challenging. Now what it's saying is it's going to scale to the difficulty the time you get it or higher. So let's say you're on a challenge global setting, you complete one of those activities, you get the bounty. It could be challenge or heroic, or if you're on heroic, it'll at least be heroic. That's awesome. Scheduled bounties such as daily and clan bounties are unaffected. Okay, developer comment, bounties acquired in the open world should always provide challenge and loot appropriate to the world they were acquired in. Totally agree with that statement. Upping your global difficulty now has the added benefit of improving all bounties you acquire within it. Okay, that's great, but within that, hopefully the loot that we covered up there will also be affected with it. I don't mind doing heroic global settings with, 2 modifiers on, as long as I'm being rewarded. Remember, it was all grind, no reward. I actually said that in one of my videos last week to that Reddit statement. So anyway, projects. New Season Pass holder project slot. Season Pass holders now have access to an exclusive daily mission, which provides a large bonus to XP. I'd like to have some clarity there. How big is the bonus? Is it 50% more XP than normal or something? That would be nice. Weekly Shade Requisition Project slot. In-game players at World Tier 5 and Level 40 now have a weekly supplies donation project, which requires them, which rewards them with an exotic cache. Very cool. Exotic caches are back. For World Tier 5 players, this replaces the previously daily Shade Requisition project. Okay. Legendary Mission Project. After TU10, completing any legendary mission will grant you the weekly Legendary Mission Project slot. Yes. Remember, we used to have this in Div 1. You would do the legendaries, grind through them because you got that exotic cache. Completing the designated legendary mission will reward you with an exotic cache. With the addition of rerolls to exotics available through crafting, we created this new weekly projects to provide a reliable supply of exotic components or exotic items. Thank you. Positive change. Check. I like it. PvP. Oh boy. This is a first pass at addressing TTK or time to kill in PvP via global individual weapon damage adjustments and is not necessarily representative of final values. Yeah, I'm going to say that it's going to take more than Title Update 10 to fix PvP in this game. We will be closely monitoring PTS 1 feedback in order to make further adjustments as needed, with additional tuning planned for PTS 2. Global modifiers, increased MMR, that's marksman rifle, PvP weapon damage by 12%, reduced global PvP weapon damage by 20%. Okay, so that's going to increase time to kill. It's not going to decrease. You're going to do less damage to other players. Reduced assault rifle PvP weapon damage by 15%. Reduced rifle PvP damage by 5%. And reduced SMG PvP damage by 10%. So they've reduced assault rifles, and SMGs damage in PvP. They've also basically gone across the entire board and lowered all weapon damage by 20%, and they've increased marksman rifles, which like the Nemesis would be included in there, by 12%. Skill modifiers reduced bleed damage from Stinger Hive, Mortar Turret, and Explosive Sinker Mine by 75%. Whoa. Okay, weapon specific, increased double barrel shotgun PvP damage by 20%, reduced pestilence PvP damage by 10%, and reduced classic M1A damage by 5%. Okay, so what you basically, you got to be able to look at these and tell what's going on. Pestilence, which is an LMG. LMG is not listed up here, but that's 10%, and the M1A in PvP, so you've got a global reduction of 20%, you've got a rifle reduction of 5%, and an M1A reduction of 5%. So overall, if I'm reading this right, your M1A is going to do 30% less damage. 20 there, 5 there, and another 5 specific to the weapon there. Developer comment, with TU10 there have been significant buffs made to the base damage of assault rifles, SMGs, and shotguns in particular. In order to prevent those weapons from being overly powerful in PvP, we've had to lower their PvP damage modifiers to compensate. Note, assault rifles are still tuned to be 10% stronger than default in PvP in order to compensate for their innate damage to health bonus being less useful, that's true, against other players when compared to other weapon archetypes. These are things that are coming in PTS 2. They're going to make changes to Negotiator's Dilemma. We're going to reduce the range at which marked targets can damage each other. when critically hit, add visual UI feedback when in range of another marked target, and Imperial Dynasty no longer automatically applies burn status effects to the nearest enemy in range. There you go, PvPers. Now requires maintaining range and line of sight for 3 seconds between the holster bearer and the nearest enemy before applying the burn status effect. So you can't just hide behind cover, and if somebody runs into range, they just catch on fire. This is only in PvP, by the way, and this is only going to happen in PTS 2. That's Phase 2. Added visual UI feedback to reveal the radius of effect in PvP, and an indicator for LOS, line of sight, between the holster bearer and the nearest enemy. All positive changes, I think, for Imperial Dynasty, because just being able to catch somebody on fire from around the block was no good. Developer comment, this should help address the lack of contextual feedback of PvP and add a much needed window of opportunity for counterplay or potential to avoid the incoming effect entirely. Totally agree. Pestilence, Plague of the Outcast damage over time effect no longer triggers True Patriot's white debuff armor repair effect, PvP and PvE. Wow, that's big. Developer comment, while we like to embrace the emergent of unintended mechanics when the end result is unique and fun gameplay, True Patriot's white debuff explicitly states it requires shooting the debuff target in order to receive the armor repair effect. Pestilence, damage over time, DOT, managed to bypass this restriction, making it and True Patriot, especially when combined with incoming repairs, scale to disproportionate levels of power when used together. Okay. Weapon balance. Weapon handling changes. 1% weapon handling now gives 1% weapon accuracy, stability, reload speed, and swap speed, up from 0.25%. Reduced the maximum amount of weapon handling rolled on gear by 4% to a maximum of 10% at level 40. In the current meta, weapon handling on gear is considered a dead stat. Totally agree with that, with no significant benefit. In TU10, equipping a piece of gear with plus 10% weapon handling will now give you 10% accuracy, 10% stability, 10% swap speed, and 10% reload speed. That's interesting. This should hopefully make weapon handling a strong complementary attribute for players looking to increase their overall accuracy, stability, bloom plus recoil, and or reload swap speed. Making the percent amount of weapon accuracy, stability, swap speed, reload speed gained from weapon handling 1-to-1, okay, will also remove another element of arcane knowledge from the game, very true, and reduce the need for additional mental math when determining whether the bonus is an upgrade or not. All perfectly written in there. So now when you get 10% weapon handling, you don't have to like break it out and do division in your head. It's 10% for everything. Weapon damage changes. Whoa, look at this. Okay. Sidearms and exotics are still being adjusted and will be updated in PTS Phase 2. Some damage increases are large and might be toned down after testing. Okay, AK 15.8 up, F2000 14.3 up, military AKM 13.2 up, black market AKM 13.2, FAL 12% up, the FAL SA, which is like the paratrooper version, 12% up. There's the para, excuse me. SOCOM Mark 16, 11.4. Tactical Mark 16, 11.4. Okay, the Mark 16, 11.4. So all the MK16s, better known as the SCAR L, all got 11.4 up. AUG A3, Close Quarters Combat, 11.2 up. Honey Badger, 10.9. FAMAS, 10.6. This is the one I'm going to focus on in just a second. ACR 9.7, ACR E 9.7, military G36 9.5, G36C for carbine 9.5, G36 enhanced 9.5, carbine 7, 7.6, all of the P416s 7.4, police M4 6.8, and the CTAR 21, the Tavor 6.2. The FAMAS was already hitting pretty well before this change, and since there is no change yet to the EB, this might be in Phase 1, the assault rifle of assault rifles to go for, and I have a maxed out rolled one with strained, so I look forward to seeing that. I might test that out at the range as soon as I'm done with this video versus my EB. LMGs, Classic M60. 12.5 up, RPK 12.4, military 12.4, all the RPKs got 12.4 damage increase, okay. The military M60 got a 9.2, that was the one you wanted. Black market 9.2. Military L86 is both L86 is 8.5. Negev 2.6 up, and the Stoner 2% damage increase. All the M249s and the MG5 by itself, no changes. Infantry MG5, excuse me, 3.2. Remember, there was a base damage difference between the MG5 and the infantry MG5. MMRs, marksman rifles. Model 700, 14.9 up. Hunting M44, 13.5 up. Classic M44, 12.5 up. That was the Mosing Nagant. G28, 11.4. SOCOM Mark 20 SSR, 9.3. SR1, 8.6. Custom M44, 8.1. The Tactical and Carbon M700s, 8.1. Covert SRS, 6. SRS A1, 6. Surplus SVD and Paratrooper SVD 2.9. So across the board, looks like every MMR is getting a damage increase. Rifles. UIC-15 mod 21.6. Whoa, 1886 21.3. LVOAC 12.1. M1A CQB 10.7. Remember, that's a different version than the classic M1A. Lightweight M4 10.5. SIGs, the SIG CQB is 8.7. This just standard SIG is 6.7. ACR SS 3.7. SOCOM M1A no changes. Okay, M16A2 no changes. I personally don't understand why that weapon's in the game. USC 45 ACP 2.8. Urban MDR 5.5. Military Police MK17s, those are the SCAR H's, 11.8. Oh, these are all decreases. Excuse me, these are decreases. So the USC Urban MDR, Military Mark MK17, Police MK17, and the Classic M1A all had damage increases, especially the MK17s and the Classic M1A. So watch for those. SMGs, Tommy Gun, 38.8 damage increase. PP19, 29.6. Enhanced PP19, 29.6. MP7, 27.5. MPX, 20.8. M1928, that's the military version of the Tommy gun, 20%. P90, 15.6. Converted SMG9, 15.8. Black market and police TA21, that's the Sosimi, is 15.4. The Vectors, I imagine these probably are all over the place, but the Vector SBR 45 ACP 14.7, the Banshee 12.5, Police UMP 45, UMP, I know it's UMP, I just call it the UMP, 12%, Tactical UMP 12%, AUG A3 Para XS 11.8, Enhanced AUG 11.8, Tactical AUG 11.8, Converted SMG9 A2 11.6. See, this is different from the converted. See these? Because they're different variants. MP5A2 10, MP5N for Navy 10, MP5ST 10, Tactical Vector SBR 9mm 5.9 damage increase. Shotguns, these needed help and they're getting help. Look at this. M870 23.3 up, Military M870 23.3, Custom M870 23.3 up, Super 90 23.2 up, Marine Super 90 23.2, Tactical Super 90 23.2. SASG, better known as the Sausage, 21.3. Tactical Sausage, 21.3. Black Market Sausage, 20.3. SPAS, 12, 18.6. And the KSG, the Caltech, 9%. So gear set changes. Holy hell, these patch notes go on forever. Okay, ongoing directive. Main talent, hollow point ammo is no longer dropped on kill and instead automatically added to your active weapon when killing status-affected enemies. Yes. Yes. I love this. Ongoing directive. I made a status effect build with this and it stunk because the hollow point ammo would drop all over the place. You had to run around and pick it up and you can only pick up a certain number of rounds at a time. And if any other that you picked up or sucked up using the weapon talent or the gear talent was lost, it would add 0. Backpack talent is new. Trauma Specialist. Increase the duration of your bleed status effects by 50% and all bleed damage done by 100%. So your bleed status effect is going up by to 100%. Increase the 3-load reload speed bonus from 20 to 30%. I'm going to try this out because I have this in my inventory. Tip of the Spear. This was a travesty gear set. Aggressive Recon's weapon damage is now gained when dealing specialized weapon damage instead of on all specialized weapon kills. Okay. Main talent PvP, aggressive recon's weapon damage buff is now gained when dealing grenade damage instead of on a grenade kill. Backpack talent is signature move, which is new. Increase specialized weapon damage by 20% and doubles the amount of specialized ammo regenerated by aggressive recon. What I haven't seen in here is balance changes to specialized weapons. I think in general they're kind of weak. So I don't know if I'll be doing tip of the spear. Aces and eights, I've got it in my stash. I don't use it. Main talent poker face. Backpack talent is now a baseline effect. Okay, flip an additional card on headshots. All right. Backpack talent is new. Ace in the sleeve amplifies one extra shot when revealing your hand. But it doesn't say by how much. So amplifies. It adds amp damage for one shot when revealing your hand, but it doesn't show by how much. System corruption main talent now repairs 20% of your armor in addition to granting 50% bonus armor. Increases total weapon damage by 1% per 5% bonus armor gained up to 20%. All right, Striker's battle gear, excuse me, reading fast. Main talent, reduce number of stacks lost on missed shots from 3 to 2. Backpack talent, no longer reduces number of stacks lost on missed shots. New, increases total weapon damage gained per stack of Striker's gamble from 0.5% up to 0.65%. Okay. Let's see. Brand set changes. Overlord. Pick up accuracy on the 2-piece from 10 to 20%. All right. Douglas and Harding. Stability bonus from 10 to 20% on the 2-piece and accuracy bonus from 10 to 20% on the 3-piece. Fenris Group. Reload speed from 10 to 20% on the 2-piece. Stability bonus from 10 to 20% on the 3-piece. This, together with the change to ongoing directive, was done to make accuracy, stability, reload speed have a more noticeable benefit on brand and gear set bonuses alongside the improvements to weapon handling. Okay. Talent changes. Leadership. Bonus armor increased from 15% from 12%. Spike. Skill damage duration increased to 15 seconds from 8 seconds. I like that. Reformation skill repair duration increased to 15 seconds from 8 seconds. Ooh, that could be interesting for PvP. Creeping Death no longer goes on cooldown. If there are no valid nearby enemies to apply a status effect to, status effects applied now properly copy the source status effect damage and duration. Okay, I'm a big fan of Creeping Death on my status effect build, and there we go. Skill change. When shock traps active duration end, a cooldown is refunded on equal number of seconds that it was active. Okay. Stinger Hive, Mortar Turret, and Explosive Seeker Mines now display its bleed damage and duration. All right. And oh my god, look at the bug fixes. Let's see. Fix the Gunslinger talent icon. Empathic Resolve, fixed Trauma talent, that scales with status effects. Unstoppable Force, fixed FPS drops related to rogue agents. I'm going to leave a link to these patch notes down in the video description. You can read all of these bug fixes, but there's got to be at least, I'd say 30 of them, maybe more, maybe 40. So that's a lot of bug fixes in there. So just to reiterate, these are not set in stone. These are just the proposed changes. This is what we want to test on the PTS server for Title Update 10. This is Phase 1. When Phase 2 eventually comes out, probably in a week from now, I'll cover those as well. But I think this video is probably rambled on long enough. So, like I said, I think this is going to be quite enough for today, and I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below. If you haven't yet smashed that sub button, please do so, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from my YouTube channel. If you liked the video, rate it with a fat thumbs up, if not with a thumbs down. If you feel like supporting my channel, check for links to my Patreon and merchandise store in the video description. You can also follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts concerning most things gaming related, with a heavy emphasis on the Division franchise. And until my next upload, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.